Hey everyone, it's Ryan 1940 here. Today we're taking a look at Sea Power Naval Combat in the Missile Age, and we're going to look at a tutorial. So the game now has in-game tutorials that kind of help you along, and we're going to take a look at the anti-submarine warfare one and make some comments on it and see how it actually plays out. So the cool thing about it is you've got this kind of message system here that'll move you through the tutorial. You can resize that, you can close this if you want. And if you ever close this guy, all you have to do is go back to the event log and then click on the open free content window and it comes back. Alright, so let's get started. I wish it the one thing I wish in this game quite a bit is if I move the camera a certain way or I move a window a certain way, it just remembers that, so next time it pops up it stays the same. Okay, so we have a task group that consists of the Hiei, the Kikuzuki, and a P3 patrol aircraft. These units will work together to detect and destroy a hostile submarine. To do this tutorial, you should probably go through the other ones for especially the basic interface concepts and how to navigate your units, how to use your units in the previous missions. So I'm not going to read everything verbatim here, but we'll just work through it. Go ahead and select the Hiei, and then what does this say? Go ahead, select the Hiei. Oh, we'll leave our ships at MCON. Okay, yep, got it. Oh, and what it's saying here with the middle mouse button, this is my primary way of getting back to the unit. So this is the flagship of the unit. If you can't tell, it's got a little marker there on the map, so that's how you can identify who the boss of the formation is, essentially. But if I go to the Kikuzuki and I want to jump back to Hiei for whatever reason, I can just hit my middle mouse button, and that is my preferred way of jumping back. Obviously you can just click on it as well. That works too. Slower speed for better detection. So once you have selected the Hiei, you'll notice that our formation is going ahead at 2/3, which is about 15 knots. It does vary based on the weather and the type of unit it is. The most important aspects of the ASW detection for submerged contact is the own ship speed. So let's reduce the speed down to 1/3. Alright. So we got to talk about active versus passive. By default, passive sonar is always enabled for player ships, submarines, and sonobuoys dropped by aircraft. Passive sonar listens to undersea noise and detects contacts based on those noise levels. Note the passive sonar effectiveness is drastically reduced when ships are moving at high speeds. If you are attempting to locate contacts using shipboard sonar, always slow down to ahead 1/3 or even all stop to listen for contacts. The one thing I don't like about the Sea Power's ASW stuff is you should be able to go faster. You should be able to go 12-15 knots and be decent at picking up contacts. Obviously if you go above that, if you go to like 20 knots plus, yeah, it should certainly fade, but there's unclass documents set for like public release and stuff on the 23 sonar, and I think in that document, it's made by one of the designers of the 23, and he talks about searching at like 20 knots, and yeah, I won't go into all the specifics of that kind of stuff, but yeah, there's obviously a benefit to searching at a faster speed, right? You can cover more ground. It's harder for you to be intercepted by the submarine because they then have to go even faster to get to you. But yeah, in this game, they want you to be at 1/3 or all stop, so that's how we have to play it. The active sonar sends an active ping into the water to locate contacts. Typically, active sonar is only used to locate and range a contact previously identified by passive sonar. Using active sonar will allow the enemies to classify your ships as hostile, similar to how radar emissions can be used to classify contacts. Enemy submarines hit by active sonar may immediately begin dispensing noisemakers and may even fire torpedoes at you. So yes, this is true. So if we go active, it is just like we're blasting our radar. It gives a class ID to the enemy if they're listening and if they detect it, and they'll know that we are the bad guys trying to get to them, trying to kill them. So they're going to react to that if they can, and they'll fire a torpedo if they're within range because they know for sure now that you are a hostile vessel to them. So keep that in mind. Another thing about active, I will say, ideally you want to get things passively, right? Because you're quiet that way. I just noticed this weird design of this ship. Wow. I never knew that the Hiei's stack was like offset to the left like that. That's nuts. Wonder what's inside of it that the center of gravity is like counterbalancing that, or if something's on the starboard side counterbalancing that. That's crazy. Cool. Anyways, sorry I got off on a tangent. I love ships. Yeah. So if we can imagine, passive is great because the guy doesn't know that we're like looking for him out there in on the distance or whatever, because we're basically putting our ears to the water. The problem with it is we're dependent entirely on the source level, the source level strength of the sound that the submarine is making. Right? Submarines have a bunch of crap in them to make sure that the people inside of them stay alive while they're doing their jobs, right? So those things can be loud or they can be super quiet. And if the submarine's employed a lot of sound mitigation techniques, then the source level is going to be really faint, and we're not going to be able to pick it up. So one of the ways that you can get around that is one of the uses for active sonar is that, you know, maybe that submarine is super quiet. At least we can control how loud we are, and so we can forcibly send sound out to try and find this damn thing, and hopefully it's strong enough to hit the target and come back. And maybe it is strong enough while passive noise emissions coming from it are not strong enough to reach our ship. So there are cases where that could be how it plays out. It's not always going to necessarily be like that, and obviously the environmental conditions also will factor in on the performance of that. Generally, you know, the weather is affecting active and passive sonar the same way. So if the submarine's really quiet and the weather is making it even worse for passive detection, maybe your only bet is to like bank on getting an active contact, because yeah, the weather's negatively affecting the active as well, but we also don't have to contend with waiting for the submarine to be loud enough for us to detect them, because we're shooting out our loud sonar emission. So you can think of it that way. It's just another tool to try and find the submarine. Ideally, it's like radar. You don't want to have it on if you don't need to use it. I'll say it's a little different than radar. I shouldn't say it's the same. It's the same in the sense that we're sending a transmission out, and somebody could figure that out and you know, do stuff against us because of that information. However, I'm not in the same camp with the MCON people, where you should always just stay at MCON unless you really need to use your radar. You need to judge that based on the surroundings and stuff and the threat environment around you. All right, biologic contacts. Now that we have slowed down our formation to 1/3, we should notice a noise contact. I don't notice a noise contact just yet. This contact is a blue whale. Note that sea life will generate noise, which can be picked up by passive sonar. Okay. Maybe we should speed this up a bit, I guess. This is a very quiet whale, I guess. Do we need to hit next? Oh, yep, there we go. Okay. Okay, so we have a whale. Since we know the noise contact ahead of us is a whale, if our ships have not already identified it, it can be manually identified as a player. Yep, we can just right-click and make that. Oh, no, sorry. Actually, let's make sure that this guy goes back to formation. Return to formation. There we go. Right-click on it, and then hit neutral. Imagine being a hostile whale. Another thing with whales is that you can look at the depth. I don't know if it's up to the mission designers, but I noticed a lot of the missions I've played so far with whales in them, the depth will constantly go up and down because they're going up to breathe and go back down to swim around and stuff. So if you notice that fluctuating a lot and it's kind of constantly fluctuating, you can kind of assume it's a whale. Another thing with whales is that they'll come to the surface, right? So eventually you'll see the depth go to like 5 feet or something, and you know for sure that that's not a submarine, because if a submarine came up at 5 feet, you're probably going to get a radar contact off the parts of the submarine, like the sail or something, sticking up out of the water. Okay, because submarines are not designed to just sit at 5 feet. So you can assume if you see something like that, that's also a submarine or a whale. Sorry. Another thing with the whales, what I like to do once I know it's a whale is I like to leave a marker. Okay, and I leave that in the general vicinity, because eventually this guy is going to go deep again and we're going to lose contact and he's going to pop up, But if I'm focused on an actual submarine contact and I see another one come up here, it might be distracting. So I'll constantly move the marker to keep track of him as he comes back up. So I know if I see an underwater contact in that region, I don't have to freak out about it. I've already seen that it's a whale, so it's not a submarine. Right? Environmental factors for detection. Sonar detection is greatly influenced by the several factors. Most important is your ship's speed. However, environmental factors also affect the sonar detection. The higher sea states generate more ambient noise, making passive detection more difficult. Rain has the same effect by creating noise on the surface. Note that the snow does not affect passive detection. In higher sea states, ASW becomes more and more difficult. The sea state is influenced by the current wind force. You can see the current conditions by opening the event log at the bottom right and then checking the environmental tab to see the current wind force and the ambient noise level. Higher wind force equates to more waves on the surface, equaling a higher noise level. This means passive detection by all platforms, including submarines, is more difficult. So this is super freaking cool. I didn't know that this was in the game, and I was very excited to see this. I don't know if it came in the last update or just the one that came out with this tutorials now for the public branch. But this is so cool. I've always wanted this. At the beginning of when the game released, you couldn't even see your layer depth. Eventually, they added it so that if you scrolled over, if you were looking on your own ship and you scrolled over to keel, then the layer depth shows up there. But I always wanted an actual page that you can look at all this information to just keep track of everything. It is very true that I remember getting in an argument with one of my girlfriends long ago because she thought she was just so bright. Like I told her, you know, the wave height is derived from the wind speed. So as the wind speed goes up, that is the greatest influencer of wave height. And obviously there are other factors that can create large waves. Like if you're in a weird spot where the tidal change is so drastic, yeah, when that tidal change happens, there are big waves. But for the most of the world, you get massive waves, and they're influenced by the wind. So as the wind goes up, and it's you can look it up. It's almost like a perfect, I wouldn't say perfect scale, but you can derive what you suspect the wave height will be based on how much wind is out there. So you know, if you got like 60, 70 knot winds, you're probably going to get like 30, 35 foot seas. Okay, it's going to be pretty crazy. And I've been in seas like that. It's awesome. I loved it. But yeah, anyways, this is so cool that there's an environmental tab and you can actually see the ambient ocean noise. If it's raining, it's going to be noisy as crap, because imagine a shit ton of bubbles all across the horizon to horizon, right, as wherever it's raining. Oh, what is this? Oh, that's crazy. Yeah, anyways. I'm happy to really see this. This is good. This will help people figure out, like, you know, why am I having a hard time finding a contact? Well, it's like, look at your environment. It's pretty crappy, or is it nice like this? So right now this is really nice. The ocean's pretty calm. There's not a lot of wind out there. All right, sprint and drift. So let's continue the search of submerged contact. Good tactic is the surface ships doing this process of sprint and drift. You can automate the process by using waypoints. Okay, yeah, so they just want us to go a little out, put some waypoints down there. Okay, for the few waypoints, let's edit each waypoint to change the speed. At the first waypoint, oh, this is a cool feature that was added. Oops, don't want to do that. Navigate, change the speed to what, 2/3 or standard? Standard, yep. And then, so this is really neat. This is kind of new to me. I've never played the scenarios yet doing this stuff. Okay, that's standard, and we want to go to 1/3. So yeah, this is a great use case for it, so you can just kind of automate the sprint and drift process. Yep. Although I'm not... I'm not sure why it's not doing... Oh, sometimes, yeah, I don't know, sometimes it's strange with like getting it to go to a waypoint from a click, but we'll just do that again. So we want to navigate, change speed to standard, and then we want to change this guy's speed to 1/3. Why is that not changing? Oh, I mean, it looks like it's set, so we'll just let it do its thing. The sprint and drift tactic I'm not a fan of. It's if you should just be at a normal search speed. If the game increased the speed that ships can operate at a normal search speed, that would be more realistic. The problem with your sprint and drifts is if you sprint like this, right, you're making a really loud broadband contact for someone else to listen to and figure out, like, oh, this guy's going this direction, and then all of a sudden it just disappears or gets super quiet because you're drifting along, and then it picks up again, and then you say you're now sprinting again, going over here. So if I was to change that again to go to standard, all of a sudden, so I see a guy going this way, and all of a sudden I don't see him anymore, but I pick him up ahead, going over here, and this leg is picking up speed again. So if I'm operating in a submarine, I can kind of generally tell where the guy's going, even though he's sprinting and drifting, because each time he's sprinting, I can just see that it's consistently going like 0.45 or something like that. So if it's a normal pace, that's just better, because the ship's best thing is the speed that we can operate in, and obviously if we're searching at a higher speed, we can find submarines, and at the same time, if the submarine's trying to intercept us, they now have to go even faster than we are going, and that's going to, one, degrade their sonars because they're trying to keep up by going over 20 knots, and two, they're forced to make so much more noise going over 20 knots trying to catch up to be able to intercept us with the geometries. Okay, so that's sprint and drift. Not a fan of that. I just prefer normal search. Towed sonar arrays. Since sprinting and drifting can be considered an overt and active search technique, let's go ahead and lower the ship's variable depth sonar using the MCON menu. Alright, we just want to deploy it. Note, towed arrays and towed decoys have a minimum and maximum allowed speed for the ship. Sea Power will alert you with a message if the ship is moving too fast or too slow to use the towed array. Yep. So you need to... animations are so cool in this game. You'll see a little message kind of pop up here if you're going too fast. It is realistic because in real life, I'll tell you, I was a sonar technician. That my primary specialty was the SQR-19 towed array, and if you can imagine, if you're going way too fast while you're trying to pace something out, the drag of the ocean pulling the towed body out this way, and all of a sudden the ship is pulling away from it this way, going super fast. There's a crap ton of pressure now that's on that cable, and it could be enough that you pop the cable, and if you do, that's very dangerous for people around it, because you might get a whipping effect that comes back, and there's a lot of force behind that. So it's cool that you can't do that in the game. It is modeled that you have speed restrictions. Yeah, it's pretty neat. And if you go too slow, the danger is if you were to go, like, you wouldn't be able to basically come to a full stop, because it's incredibly dangerous. If you did that, if you had a towed array, it would kind of just fall down straight, and then the currents might actually pull it underneath, and what you got down there, you got these two propeller shafts, so they'll get fouled up and they get tangled up, and you're going to spend a lot of time with divers trying to unscrew that. So that is cool. The game does take that into account. It's really neat to see. The thermocline, the thermal layers. Now that we're deploying the towed array, let's talk about the thermal layer and its properties. In most areas of the ocean, there's a distinct thermocline boundary that exists at certain depth where the water temperature changes dramatically. This is referred to as the layer. When discussing sonar and acoustic detection of submarines, submarines below the layer will be harder to detect for the surface ships and sonobuoys above the layer, because the water temperature greatly affects the sound travel through water. Oh, sorry, the water temperature greatly affects the sound travel through water. Note that all shipboard sonar sensors, with the exception of the towed array, are only capable of listening to above the layer. So yeah, if you can imagine our shipboard hull-mounted sensor here, because we're at the top of the layer, or we're in the layer, I guess, we can only see the upper layer. Okay, that's how the game kind of models it. Of course, the sound also in the game does go. Your hull-mounted sensors can see below the layer as well. It's just they're degraded, and they're degraded because if you imagine just this imaginary line, let's say from here to here, the water temperature is like I don't know, something like 70 degrees, okay, and then from then below that, it dramatically goes down to say like 40 degrees or something. It just starts to curve off. That temperature change, when the sound rays hit it, the speed of sound is changing really dramatically, but the sound rays also are refracting off that layer, so they can scatter, they can bounce back up to the top of the layer. Some of it will curve down, slow down dramatically, and curve down so that we won't ever get a return from that. There's a bunch of stuff that can happen when it crosses the layer, and it's not impossible to cross the layer, so you can find things on the other side of the layer using your hull mounted. It's harder because it has this it has to go through a point where it's going to make it lose its, essentially like lose its power. Okay, so it's not impossible, but you can do it. And what causes the layer? Well, there's a lot of factors, and this game is super neat that we don't have a thermal layer right now in this tutorial, but in the game it's not blanket across the whole region. So it's not like, say it's not like 200 feet for the layer. All around, it's different everywhere you go. So if there was a layer here, it would be a certain depth, say 200 feet, but if I went a little further away, it might be like 150. So that's super cool, because in real life, the layer is not like this blanket thing. Certainly in a region, it will generally be the same, but it would be, the values would be a little different. So you constantly have to drop these things called XPTs and kind of and you'll see where that layer is, because all an XPT is, you can even, researchers use them all the time on hydrographic survey vessels and stuff like that. You just chuck this thing into the ocean. It's got a thermal resistor in it, and it computes the information that comes back is the resistance level, and it calculates how long that thing was out in the water to kind of calculate what depth it thinks it's at, and you end up getting a bunch of temperature depth pairs. So you'll see, like, if you see a XPT trace, you'll see it enter the water at 0 depth, and then you'll see it just go in a straight line, and it'll constantly be reading maybe like 70 degrees, and all of a sudden at like 200 feet, then it starts to really drop off, and it curves off to get colder and colder and colder. So temperature is one of the things that does affect the sound speed in water, but it's not the only thing. So temperature, salinity, and pressure are the things that affect the sound velocity in the water. I know a lot about it because my current job, I still work with sonar stuff, and that is something that you need to calculate very accurately if you want to map the ocean bottom, for instance. You need to know the sound velocity in that moment that your sonar is pinging. So what happens is that the top part of the ocean is greatly affected by temperature, because we're greatly affected by, say, the sun baking down on this upper portion of the water column. But eventually you get so deep that the temperature will become isothermal, and it kind of just is the same temperature, same cold ass temperature down there, right? And what's then different is the water pressure increases because you're going so deep, right? You have all that weight of the water column above you, and that makes the sound speed actually increase. So that's how sometimes you get these propagation paths that you can see things like super far away, because the sound rays are bending down as the water gets colder. And then they're getting to a region that's so deep that the pressure is actually speeding up the sound ray again. It's bending it back upwards. So then you get this skipping around. You get the sound speed increasing speed as it goes down. It gets cold, it starts to slow down and fall down deeper, and then all of a sudden the pressure makes it jump back up. So it bounces along the surface, and you can get convergence zones like that. And that's essentially how those things are formed. You do need a certain temperature, certain depth profile that can happen in, but that's why they're forming, is because the pressure is also a great influencer on sound speed, but that's only on the lower portion of the water column. All right, so I've probably harped on that way too long. I'm sorry. Anyways, yes. Searching for contacts. All right, let's take the Kikuzuki. We'll be sprinting and drifting with the towed array below the layer. Okay, I think that their towed array is out, right? Yep, they are. Okay, helicopters for ASWs. So we've got a new contact detected. Oh, all right. All right, it's super cool that now there's an unknown signal. That is, I think it says it here. Yeah, it's an artificial means, but that's nice to see that, because I think maybe mission designers can use that to cue the user in to look at a certain thing in the game. Okay, so we want to launch a helicopter. Go back to the HIE. Alright, so the HIE's got these HSS2s, which are licensed built versions of the SH3. Okay, one of these guys airborne. They will proceed with an ASW loadout. Yep, we'll get them to do that. And it's so cool to see Japanese ships in the game. And they, I'm hoping to see more nations. I like that. I think like the Chinese units are coming soon. I love different nations in the game because even though I was a United States Navy sailor, you go on deployment, you see a bunch of different, vessels from all around the world. It's really cool to see, and you interact with them, you train with them or whatever. And particularly for the game, I like it because there are historical clashes and conflicts that I never knew about across the world, maybe minor skirmishes, and I like it when mission creators, maybe that's like a local thing to them, part of their local history, that they can reproduce that in the game and make that something that we can learn from and we get to play in a fun scenario. So it's cool that a lot of different countries are being added. I like to see it. I just thought that was weird, that little life ring there, man. It's kind of weird if there's like a man overboard, you're on the bridge wing, you gotta reach over the top there to throw it over the side. Imagine it being better right there, but that's wild. We used to have a life ring on the frigate, actually, that was, say the smoke deck was over here and the life ring was on the bulkhead. Our XO came out there, and none of us really liked that guy because he was really strict in a crazy way. And XOs are normally strict, don't get me wrong, that's kind of their job, but he was just nuts about stuff. And one of the things that he brought up is the life ring usually has the ship's name on it. So, for instance, this will have like Hiei probably written on it, right? And the thing was slightly canted. It didn't perfectly line up vertically, the ship's name. And he said, like, oh, I absolutely hate that. And all of us heard him say that. So what did we all do? Like every time we saw a life ring, we just slightly twisted it 5 degrees over so it wasn't perfectly lined up, just hoping that he would see it and piss him off. If you ever join the Navy, I'll tell you one of the best things you could learn is don't let people know what pisses you off or what annoys you or what drives you crazy, because they will freaking they'll poke at it whenever they can for their own amusement. So keep it to yourself. Alright, let's take Hobby 1 out there. Alright, they're going to talk about all the different types of sensors that the helicopter can carry. So we got sonobuoys, we have the diefars and the diecast. The diefars are the passive buoys, the diecasts are the active buoys. That's really what they're called, that's really their names. And I'll tell you, in real life you can use those sonobuoys off on the ship, you just throw them in the water. In sea power you can't, which I understand. I mean, I don't really see the use case for it. The only times that we did it actually was just for training and getting used to how they work, and a lot of times if we wanted to just tune up our system just to make sure that the stuff was really working, we can just chuck one in the water. They're water activated, so the moment you throw them in, they'll just do their thing and unfold. The diecast, I'll say, it's like dense as hell. It's heavy, surprisingly heavy for what it is. Alright, so as with the shipboard sonar sets, passive will listen and active will ping. So diecast is the active one, so it'll ping, and passive, the diefars are the passive ones. You want to use that to classify your contacts. Airdrop torpedoes, they are torpedoes that are the Mark 46, that's correct. Yeah, they're the same type that are launched from the Mark 32 triple torpedo tubes that the ships have. In fact, they all sit in the same magazine. You could put one torpedo in the tube, you could take it out, put the banding stuff on it so that you can load it into the helicopter, and it's the same Mark 46. Okay. Helo torpedoes and shipboard torpedoes are taken from the same ammunition stock, so dropping torpedoes from your helicopters will deplete your ship's inventory of torpedoes. No way, did they add that? It wasn't a thing in the past, and I've definitely checked it. I'll have to check that again. What this is saying is really cool, because if you chuck a bunch of torpedoes from your helicopters and you go back and try to get more torpedoes, this should pull from your Mark 46 stock. So, oh, this game is acting a little funny right now. There we go. Yeah, it should drain your Mark 46 stock if you reload the helicopter, and it didn't do that before. And I've tested that before, but I'll have to check again, because that'd be really neat if it's doing that now. And that would be a thing to make you be more careful when you're doing your torpedo drops. Make sure you're getting the good hits in. Also note, airdrop torpedoes are by necessity less powerful than shipboard torpedoes. Do not be surprised if it requires multiple hits from helicopter or aircraft drop torpedoes to score a kill. I wonder what that means, if that is a game limitation or what, because it is literally the same torpedo. Like, it's the Mark 46 that you can put it in the tube or you can put it in the helicopter, so it should be as strong as the shipboard one. The only other thing that's not going to be as strong as is submarine launch torpedoes, because they're generally much larger in diameter and warhead size and everything like that. But the Mark 46 on a helicopter is the same Mark 46 you fire out the tube. I wonder if that's the necessity thing, is just talking about something that the game needs to do to get it to work. Well, they should be the same power. Alright, dipping sonar, let's take a look here. They're effectively placed miniaturized variable depth sonar on a long cable. Yep. Dipping sonars can go below the layer and usually include an active as well as a passive receiver. Good for searching for submerged contact. You can use that doing the MCON thing here. Yep, dipping sonar. The MAD. Ooh, I want to talk about the MAD. So MAD is deployed from a MAD bird, and it's detected variations in the Earth's magnetic field. And note, this is the important part. Submarine with titanium hulls, such as the Soviet Alpha class, are very hard to detect with MAD gear. This is one deficiency, I think, in the reference information here in the game, because I get this a lot in my comments about people trying to use MAD and saying it's not working. Why the heck can't I find anything with it? And it's because they're going after a submarine that's a titanium hull submarine. So you got to look that up, unfortunately, because if you went to submarines here and they talked about the Alpha class having a titanium hull, there is nothing here that tells you that. So you just got to know, unfortunately. And it's kind of a hard thing for a casual gamer to know. Honestly, I don't remember all the ones that have titanium hulls anymore. And I was a sonar technician, so I was a sonar supervisor. But yeah, you'll have to know that. You have to look it up on some other means. But the game does model that. So what ends up happening is you go over the submarine and nothing's showing up. And this is why MAD also shouldn't be used as a primary search device, because you have to go directly over the guy. Let's demonstrate this really quick, because they're coming up on the submarine. We have to go essentially like right over him just to momentarily see that we have a MAD hit. So that's not a good way to search, right? Because we have to actually go over the damn thing to know that it's there. If we use a sonobuoy, maybe we can pick something up at a mile, maybe we can pick something up at a couple miles out. So you can see generally more area that we can cover faster just by using one sonobuoy versus going back and forth over that 1 mile spot to find a submarine that's in there. It's more of like a sensor to help you know that there is this actual submarine there versus maybe a whale now that they're in the game. If you went over a whale with the MAD sensor, you're not going to get anything. So you can kind of think to yourself, well, I don't want to go spend all this time looking at this whale with a buoy. You can check it with a MAD array, and if it doesn't pop, and you see that it's kind of going up and down the water column and stuff, changing depth constantly, that's probably a whale. So I would use the MAD just to verify. Okay, so it's got an M here. See, it already went away, right? We weren't really far from it. So yeah, use that as like a sensor to kind of prove that something's there or not. Don't use it as like a search sensor. Alright, setting sonobuoy patterns. This is one thing I don't use, but I guess some of you, if you want to do it this way, you can. And I'll tell you why I don't want to do it. So you can, if you right click and hold Control Shift, you'll get a pattern like that. Now look at all those sonobuoys that you're going to waste, basically. If I know something's out there, ideally the way that we should be doing ASW, ideally, it's not always going to work out like this. We have our ships back there. They detect something with their massive sensors, because they have all the power in the world, and their sensor sizes are much larger than what we can put into a tiny sonobuoy. So if we can detect something far away, then we can just get the helicopter to go to a known spot or kind of a datum of where we thought we detected the guy, and then they're just using their sonobuoys now to relocate the submarine with their own sensors, and then they could just go ahead and kill the damn thing. So I would only want to really use maybe one or two. So you can right click on this guy and put him below the layer, above the layer. If you know the submarine is above the layer, then put him above the layer. If you want them to be intermittent, because maybe you're seeing them kind of go up and down through the depths and stuff, going across the layer, you can drop that. And all that's going to do is, like, intermittently, it's going to change below the layer, above the layer, below the layer, back and forth as you drop your sonobuoys. So this guy, there's no layer, so it doesn't really matter. We can just have him drop a sonobuoy. Now when you're dropping him, I recommend putting it in front of the submarine, because if we put this guy behind the submarine, if he doesn't do a course change, we've put ourselves at such a disadvantage, because he's already moving away, so the source strength of his noise is getting weaker and weaker for us to pick up, right? Because he's moving away from us, there's just more distance to cross. So don't put it behind him, put it kind of in front of him. And there's going to be a sweet spot where you try and figure out what's the actual range that my sonobuoys can find this guy in, because this game is really neat, and the acoustic ranges are going to vary based on the environment at that moment. So maybe some days you play the game, the environmental conditions in one mission are really good like this, so we probably get some decent ranges. And maybe it's the different mission, the weather has changed and it's really bad, and you're not going to get the same ranges. You're going to have to actually put that closer. So you kind of got to feel for it, and you're going to have to test it out. Your first few drops, you might not get a contact on it. You might move it in closer until you do. And I will say, you will always want to pay attention to when your sonobuoys actually get the contact and what the contact's doing when you do get detection, because you'll want to write those ranges down or memorize them or something, just for your current mission. So you'll know, like in this mission, I picked this guy up at like 2 nautical miles on the sonobuoy, and he was going, say, 8 knots. So I know if he's going 8 knots, I'm probably going to get him at 2 nautical miles. Now if he goes 3 knots or if he goes slower than that, maybe I lose detection. And I want to keep note of that too, because I'll know once he goes below a certain speed, I'm going to lose him. And that keeps me aware of the movements he can be doing that I can't detect, but I know he's probably doing something if I lost contact all of a sudden, right? And if I detected contact all of a sudden, he's probably changed what he was doing for me to all of a sudden get detection. But know those ranges, that'll help you out big time. All right, yeah, this is a good one too with the classifying contacts with sonobuoys. If you're not aware of the different sonobuoy types, right, we've got active and passive, and it's the same for the active and passive on the ship. Passive is what you want to use to classify something, because you're actually listening to noise. So the way I can explain it is, if I go into a room and there's a bunch of people talking, usually if I just walked into the room and maybe it's a party, I just hear a bunch of broadband noise. Okay, just a general crowd noise, right? But the moment I start looking in a direction and I start to walk closer to somebody, then I start to hear their voice, right? And maybe if the lights are out or the lights are really low, maybe I can hear if it's a guy or a girl's voice, or maybe I can hear that this person has an accent from this region. I just start to hear all the different inflections in their voice. I can kind of maybe tell their mood. Maybe are they pissed off? Are they happy? Are they having a great time cheering and stuff like that? You hear all these different things as you get closer and closer. So passive then allows you to identify. Ultimately, maybe you'll know it's your buddy, right? And you know them by name. So passive is what we use to classify things, because we can learn so much from a contact just by listening to it. Active, however, it's just like me yelling at my friend's face, right? I don't know anything about him. If it's in the middle of if it's dark out in the party or something, I'm just shouting in his face. He knows that I'm there, right? He certainly knows I'm there because I'm screaming in his face. But the sound is, I'm not getting anything back from yelling at him. Okay, it's the same thing with active noise. I'm sending a transmission out, and it's hitting this thing, and I know it's there because I get the reverberation of the echo. But I don't know anything about that contact. I just know something's there. It could be a freaking whale. It could be a submarine. It could be I don't think the game models this, and I wish it did. You can also pick up like underwater peaks and stuff, and they'll look like potentially they could look like a submarine. It's freaking crazy. It'll look like it's moving and everything. So yeah, active transmission just lets you know something's there. It doesn't tell you what that thing is. So you need to know what it is before you shoot at it. So you have to use your passive buoys. So you can see here we classified this as a November. These guys can carry the 5365, so Those have a 10.3 nautical mile range, and they're wake-homing torpedoes, so we're actually we're right on the edge of it. So let's, we'll keep it going. Maybe we'll let them shoot at us or not. But yeah, I want to talk about the 5365 torpedo. So it says here you can avoid the wake homers by just stopping, and I do not like that tactic. And I'll say this, let's before I demonstrate how to avoid it properly. But if I was this guy, right, and I fired a wake homer at my ship here, say if it was within range, is a great solution. If you come to an all stop, certainly that shot in the game is not going to work, because you'll the wake homers won't have a wake to home on, right? And that's a lot of players I think do that for the 5365s in the game, and I don't think that is realistic. But it's playing off the AI at the moment. The AI is not smart enough to follow up if they see stopped. You know, ships don't magically disappear once they come to a stop. Certainly your propeller noise goes away, right? That could be a large source of noise. However, you still have your frickin' turbines going, right? Or depending on what type of engine you have, your diesel's going maybe, or however your powertrain is set up on the ship. You have all your life support systems like the air conditioning and the cooling plant and stuff like that, if you're like a nuclear ship. And all that stuff is making a crap ton of noise. So the guy still knows you're there, right? You just stopping certainly saves you from that torpedo, but it wouldn't, if he was smarter, it wouldn't save you from a follow-up shot, right? Because ideally, if the AI was brighter, he'd see you come to a stop and say, okay, well, I'll just fire another set of torpedoes at you. And then they'll do that, and now you're putting a rock in a hard place, because you've come to an all stop, and now there's a torpedo coming directly at you. So now you're forced to move. And once again, now that you're forced to move, you're going to produce a wake. And you're at a disadvantage because you're already at a stop, so you have a lot more time to build up your speed to get going again, to start to maneuver as a torpedo closes you. Now, imagine this guy, if he wants to kill us, he's not just magically going to fire one shot and then run away. He's going to keep closing us until he makes sure that we're dead, because he wants to get the job done. Well, the game doesn't do that at the moment. So I think I wish it did, because this tactic of stopping to avoid a wake homer shouldn't work, and it wouldn't work because they should fire directly at you if you do that, and it's going to force you to run, and you'll be at a disadvantage at that point, because you come to a stop, you'll have to speed up and produce a big wake again. You'll have to go flank speed at this point, and then maybe that torpedo is going to get you. The other thing it's talking about, I do recommend, and this is what I normally do. If you imagine this shot right here, if that was like a perfect shot to an intercept point where he was going to hit us with the 5365, the torpedo requires a wake for it to home in on. So yeah, obviously stopping, you can kind of cheat that way and avoid it. But also, if you just don't cross this line, so that because this is our ship's path, right? Our ship has to cross over the line. The torpedo has to then sniff out that wake, and then it's going to start homing in on you, and then boom, blows up. If you just freaking turn, like go this way, if the shot was coming this way, once you detected a torpedo launch, he's fired. He's fired 5365s right now, so we can demonstrate this. So he's probably fired it as we're going down this course, right? And we'll watch those torpedoes and we'll just play it out.
Torpedo in the water.
Yep.
Torpedo in the water. Bearing 8-7.
All right. So we've got a Sonobuoy out here. So this is the key to avoiding the torpedoes as well. If you have buoys out ahead of you or something, you can detect this early on. You can detect the path that the torpedo is going. So it looks like we'll have to draw this out. Looks like these torpedoes want to go this way. Okay. So as long as I come hard to starboard and I don't cross this line, I'm not going to be sunk. Okay. So I'll take direct control because I want to make sure that we don't cross that line. They're not like passively guided where they'll once they get close enough to you, they'll lock onto you essentially and just chase you down. They have to catch the wake. So if this is inaccurate, we'll have to draw this out for the other one too. If this is an accurate representation of their course, then let's keep it a little bit like that. Alright, this game is having a hard time with me clicking on a moment. I don't know what's going on. Okay. Yeah, so we're just skirting that edge there. Okay, so at this moment I know that I'm safe. They're not going to catch the wake. In fact, I can just level out and just kind of drive this way. Alright, so we can attack with helicopters. This is the primary weapon system, but you can use your shipboard systems that like they're saying, and it is true, like you want to use your helicopters because ideally you want to find the submarine with your, you got to imagine all the power and stuff and the sensor capabilities you have on a ship with your variable depth sonar, or maybe you have a towed sonar, you have your hull mounted sonar. There's so much equipment that is much larger than what can fit into a helicopter, what you can pack into a sonobuoy. So you don't want to search with the sonobuoys if you don't need to. If you can use your ships, that's the best way to do it because there's unlimited amount essentially. As long as the ship is running, you can use those systems. Then you run out of sonobuoys. So use that, localize it with the helicopter with your sonobuoys, pick them up on the sonobuoys, and then kill it with the torpedo. The other thing is, you have over the side torpedo, and that range is limited. It's only 8 nautical miles, right? So even with a 5365, we're already outranged, right? Because they can fire at 10.3 nautical miles. So it's not ideal, but it's not impossible that you would find a situation where you'd want to use your over the sides. Because normally, I'll tell people you should at least always want to fire like a counter shot or counter fire at that guy, even if it's out of range, because he might detect it, and then he's going to be forced to react to it because he doesn't know for sure what the range of that weapon is, or he doesn't know if you have a good solution on him. He just knows the torpedo's coming at him, and he's going to be forced to maneuver. It's going to kick out noisemakers. It's going to make it easier for you to identify where the heck he's at, right? So you can do that. The ASROC also is a good weapon system. The thing with the ASROC though is it goes up to 6 nautical miles, and it's not 8 nautical miles. Even though the ASROC has the Mark 46 torpedo on top of the rocket booster, it is the same torpedo. It's just it is set to a spiral search. So basically it goes boosted out 6 nautical miles in a ballistic arc, comes back into the water, and then the torpedo enters the water, just does this big spiral search over the guy until it finds him and hits him. So it doesn't run out like in a snake pattern. Like the over the side shot will run out to a point and then it'll start its like snake pattern, I think. So the situation you would probably use that one in is if there was maybe it was a bad day for the weather and both of us couldn't see each other. November couldn't see us, we couldn't see them, and then they closed within like 5 nautical miles or maybe 4 nautical miles. All of a sudden I've got this pop-up submarine and I need to kill it because we're certainly within range, but we're really close. It's super dangerous. If I could see him, he could probably see me now. So I wouldn't want to fire the over the side, but you can. That would just take longer, and he'll know a torpedo's coming. If I use the ASROC, he's not going to know that I've just fired a torpedo at him until it splashes over his head and starts to spiral down right on top of him. And at that point, it's like seconds to react versus potential minutes to react for him. So that would be a situation you want to use the ASROC in. And I think it's a great weapon system. I think it's really cool. Further in the future, you get VLAs. That's like outside the scope of this game, I think, in terms of the time frame. But VLAs are essentially like a better ASROC. Like they fit in the vertical launch cells and they can fire like way further. So, anyways, helicopters are the way to kill them. And if you are using torpedoes, you want to ideally come from the stern of the submarine because he's going to have a harder time detecting that because all sonars will have like a baffle plate behind them. Well, depending on the arrangement, they'll have some sort of baffling because they don't. If I'm this hull-mounted sonar on the bow, I don't want to hear all the crappy noise from the ship behind me, right? So I want to block it out because that's going to interfere with what I'm trying to do. I need everything to be quiet so I can get my returns back and listen to discern from that. So if I can baffle that out with some like acoustic plates or tiles or something, that's good. So submarines will do the same thing, obviously, with their sonars. They have different arrays on them sometimes, so maybe it's not a perfect solution, but it just helps your odds. Just fly the helicopter astern of them and fire some torpedoes in the game, and it tends to work pretty well. So you can see here, our maneuver here, we've we're absolutely safe, right? These torpedoes are not in any sort of weird search pattern. They're just going out that direction. And that's how you should avoid the wakecombers. It's simple to do. They're very easy. And unfortunately, there's 3 torpedoes there, so I think he's only got 1 in the tube now, right? Because he's 4 tubes. Oh shoot! Now he's potentially has 5 left. I was gonna say these guys could be smarter, but it is what it is. The AI update, I'm sure, is coming because they know that that's certainly stuff they're working on. And they know about the little nuances of things that could be better. All right, yeah, we got the dash drone. I forget about that thing. We can launch one of those. That just is the little drone that you can drop a torpedo over. Alright, use your ships and helicopters to attack and destroy the November-class submarine. Just be aware the enemy submarine may fire torpedoes and attack your ships once they realize they're under attack. You can advance the tutorial here even if both of your ships are sunk. Either destroy the submarine or hit next to continue. Okay. Well, kind of want to go flank now and just see if we can close the gap and get an ASROC kill on this dude. I think this tutorial stuff is great because it is pretty daunting to understand how to do this stuff, and in the past you've just had to watch YouTube videos, and even my YouTube videos, they're freaking long. And so if you're just trying to get a quick thing where, you know, I'm the same way. I learn better if I'm actually doing it. So you playing through the scenario in a guided scenario, I think, is a great addition to the game to help people learn. Not everyone learns that way, but a large majority of people do. At least playing games and stuff, we all are accustomed to doing tutorial missions. Alright, this is not how you should be killing a nuclear-powered submarine that's within torpedo range of you, but I'm gonna do it because I like using the ASROCs. So we'll speed this up. We know he's got some torpedoes out there in his tube still. We got to close within 6 nautical miles to get the ASROC off. We're at 7 nautical miles. We're quickly closing 6. So what you can see here, I'm doing just basic geometry, giving a lead intercept here. If I did a direct on him, this would make the intercept take longer. Right, we're trying to meet him in space. All right, good closure. 6.3 nautical miles. Here we go. He's turning back towards us. No. We're gonna have to fire off the ASROCs and then turn tail. One thing about the Sonobuoys is they have a life of just 1 hour, right? And so you get the timer down here. I don't know if that thing mentioned that. 1 hour for the Sonobuoys. In real life, they can live longer than that. Even the older, crappy ones from long ago were like World War II ones. I think could last like 4 hours. So you can imagine the modern ones in the 80s lasting much longer than that. Yeah, so it tells you the timer there, and then if you're out of range, if there's an aircraft or a ship that's not within 30 nautical miles, you'll also get something here that lets you know. And then you have to understand, like, that even though that Sonobuoy is there, if you're out of range, you're not getting any contacts from it. So there could be a submarine right underneath it, and you would never see. You'd have to make sure a unit was within 30 nautical miles of it. All right, we are within 5.4 nautical miles. We're going to fire a salvo of 2 at this dude. We'll fire a salvo of 2 over the side shots just for a backup. All right. Okay. And then we're going to open this guy as much as possible. So look at this. This is a great example of just how this dumb old thing is flying through the air, right? And then our torpedoes have barely gone anywhere from the over the side shot. And this thing is over his head within like 30 seconds, right? Oh, this is going to be good. It's probably a little dangerous for the helicopter to be dodging these massive weapons just falling from the sky in a parachute. Where is the helicopter? He's somewhere over here, I think. Oh, he's firing noisemakers. I heard it. Yep. So he's firing noisemakers off because the torpedo is so far. He's detecting that far out, and that's why even if you're out of range with the torpedo, you should still do an over-the-side shot as a counterfire if you've been shot at. Just to, if that guy picks it up, he's going to kick out noisemakers and start to maneuver and stuff. So he's counterfired with ASW torpedoes. I never understood this behavior. Because he must not know that we fired that, because the set 65s, I believe they're not. I think they're not a torpedo. Oh no, we missed it! Damn it! What do they have? Oh, it was right in front of me. Sorry. Yeah, it's primary mode, and the only mode it has is anti-submarine. So, if you saw Mark 46, like, the guy should know that that's only an ASW torpedo, and so it was only fired by a surface vessel. It couldn't be fired by a submarine. If he was fired at by Mark 48, yeah, I'd assume he'd fire an anti-submarine torpedo back at it. Let's see if we could find the submarine. There he is. Oh, this guy is like, he's hit, but he's still firing. Oh wow, he got hit from the bottom. That is wild. Both of the shots. Alright, we need to make... Yeah, he's fired some 5365s. I was going to say, we need to make sure he didn't fire 5365s at us. Okay, so once again, simple as, all we got to do is just pull out the course. And we just got to make sure we don't cross that line, right? So as long as we don't cross this line here, we're good. So we've got some other torpedoes that are going different courses like that. 246. Yeah, so it looks like as long as we go this way, we're good. And these ASW torpedoes, they're no threat to us, so we don't have to worry about them. November is still alive. That is pretty wild. Oh, yeah. Alright, we'll just advance the tutorial. This is just a good demo to show you how to avoid the wakecombers, and also the difference between the ASRock and the over-the-side Mark 46. Like, what are the situations that make the ASRock better over the side? And like I said, you should at least always use the over-the-side to put the guy on his toes. So you can see here, he was damaged by the two ASRock shots, and we still got these two Mark 46s heading out his way. They might get lucky and actually hit him, because we did fire within range. So, but anyways, let's just speed this up forward. Okay, he's dead now. All right, you've got command of a P3. Let's go pick that up. Click on the P3. Yep, got it. So the P3 is MPRA. That's funny, I always used to call it MARPA, even though that's not... This is how the acronym is, MPRAs. MARPA just rolls off the tongue better. MIPRA sounds weird. Okay, yep, they're just searching. They can also carry harpoons or bombs. Powerful surface search.
Surface search on.
Get to turn that radar on, yep. Datums and furthest on circles, alright. Use the array of laid sensors operated by the JSDF. New contact has been detected. This is the datum. Where's the datum at? Datum A01 on your tactical display. A datum is the last known position of a contact marked as a geographic coordinate. The circle around the datum is the furthest on circle, which is based on the last known contact and the submarine's estimated speed. In this case, datum 1 is about 10 nautical miles across based on the edge of the age of the contact. Where the heck is the thing? Maybe if I hit next? Yeah, so, oh, there it is. Okay, good. Yeah. Yeah, so this is just a general, like, you know, based on their speed, they could be, and the time that they had the contact, it could be anywhere, like, within the circle. It's not necessarily true, like, it might, you know, the circle initiated from the very middle there, but it's likely it's somewhere close to that. Alright, so we want to use our P3 to get over there, set it to intermittent depth around the datum circle, see if we can locate the submarine, prosecute and destroy it. Yep, let's do that really quick. Alright, let's speed the plane up, let's get their butt over there, set that to intermittent. It is good. I think the P3s in real life, oh, that's right. Well, there's pictures that you can find online with the loadout of the P3s, and there's 48 that would fit down here, but there's also a separate stowage and additional launcher set within inside the hull of the aircraft and the fuselage, so they can carry a bit more than the 48. I love the Japanese skin. That is really nice. I love P3s, man. I was so happy that I got to see them and work with them in some exercises because they're such cool aircraft. It's amazing to see an aircraft when you were like a small child, and then grow up and then join the Navy, and then now you can see them in their operational environment, like doing ASW exercises. It's just nuts. These guys were in service for so long. Alright, so they're just saying, what I like to do with my buoys is just so I understand the ranges, I'll draw like a circle out, and I like to work with 5 nautical miles for spacing. That's not perfect, but oops. Just have them go this way. It's not perfect, but it's it works, because I think generally you're going to find the ranges of the sonobuoys being about 1 to 2 or 1 to 3 nautical miles, depending on like the weather and that kind of stuff, and then what the contact's doing. So if you have it spaced out within 5, and you're assuming the guy's moving around, eventually he's going to come into 1 or 2 or 3 nautical miles of at least one of the buoys. Alright, so we'll drop this and we'll see if we get it. Okay, it's going to come back in. Actually, I don't... you really don't have to put the buoys at intermittent because there's no layer. So... oh, there we go. Got the contact there. So I can... want to put this ahead of him, remember? He's already moving towards that. Actually, we should be good. We don't need to drop any more sound buoys. So we want to put our buoys ahead of him because we got all this. Like, look at this. We're getting him at 6 nautical miles. We got all this time for him to be captured on the buoy, and then as he moves away from it, we got double that amount of time of contact. If we put it behind him, then it's just a waste because he's already moving away from it. We miss out on a whole another half of detection. If you had to move towards the sensor and then move away from it. So you can just double your tracking time, right? Alright, so he's changing his depth, and we've basically lost contact. He's also slowing down. So we picked him up pretty far because he was going, my guess is 15 knots, and he's slowing down now. So now we do need to drop another buoy kind of in close to him. Alright, let's speed this up. Don't take forever.
On station.
Alright, they're going to zoom out and they're going to come back in to drop their buoy.
Buoy away.
There we go. Oh, look at that. He's moving away now. Damn. Alright, well, he has a hostile contact that's known. He's going 3 knots. Wow, that's pretty slow. He is a mile away, so like I said, we want to know what he's doing. So he's going really slow, so he should be pretty quiet. And we're still getting contact about a mile, 1.2 nautical miles away, so it's pretty good. The weather's cooperating with us. I'm going to send Salvo 2, and we'll fly him from the stern.
016, salvo fire.
We'll see how he turns to drop this. It might... Okay, good. He's flying back in now.
Whip it away.
Sweet. Oh, look at that. I think he's right over there. Just barely make him out. Looks like it's an Oscar or something. I don't know. It's just really hard to see. No, it's not an Oscar. That's a kilo. He is going to get effed up by these 2 torpedoes. You see, he's not reacting, so he's not kicking out noisemakers. He doesn't know this is about to happen to him.
Hit track.
Good, there we go.
16.
Yeah, this is it's a bad day for that kilo. Alright, let's see if eventually he dies. Yep. Oh, we've lost contact because he's just gone dead in the water. We could monitor it, I guess. Yeah, also, this would be a chance to drop an active buoy. If he's not going to be moving, we can't rely... Or radar echo. Oh, he must have surfaced. Are we getting him through the... where is he? Oh, I wonder if he broached or something. Yeah, there he is. I don't know if you guys can see that because it's dark out, but there's a little black segment of the sail right there coming out. But yeah, I was saying, if we know he's going to be so quiet because his engine's dead, because he's like really messed up, obviously you want to use active at that point to track him because you know he's not producing any noise to really track. All right, flying right over him now. We'll probably get a mad hit on him maybe.
On station.
Flew right over him. No mad hit. I think he's dead. Alright, well done on learning the ins and outs of the anti-submarine warfare. This is the key for commanders both in scenarios and in campaign. This completes the 3rd officer training session. Good work, Commander. Is this guy really dead? I can never tell with the themes. I like the light and dark themes, but I think he's dead. I think that light gray on the dark theme is, yeah, he's dead. That always throws me off. I like the dark theme though, it's really nice. Cool, we did it. We learned quite a bit, didn't we? My goodness, this went a lot longer than I thought it would, but I like to talk a lot, sorry. Yeah, I think the guided tutorials are really great. I think a lot of people will learn from it, and especially if you're new, maybe if you're experienced, maybe you learn a thing or two. I'm hoping this video I get to share some insights as well about one of the wake-homing things drives me crazy because it is a bad tactic to stop. Like if you're in torpedoes, like a torpedo firing range of a submarine and you stop, that's insane. Like it's crazy. You want to get the heck out. The problem is that you put yourself in a situation where the guy can fire at you. So you want to fix that problem, and that solution is getting the heck out of there, going away as fast as possible and avoiding knowing the course of the torpedo, avoiding a way that you would, you drive over his line of travel for the torpedoes, so you can avoid them homing in on you and killing you. But you got to fix the problem of getting away from the guy that's able to shoot at you, right? Reset the situation with your ship, get the heck out of there, build some space so you got more time, and then now that you know, because he did fire at you, that he's a hostile dude, and kind of we might know where he's at, send the helicopter out there to figure it out. Even if you didn't know where he's at, you know that he has to be within 10.3 nautical miles from you. So use that torpedo information as well to help you make your own datum, right? Just be like, he's got to be within 10.3 nautical miles of me from this point. And then just search with your sonobuoys if you can't find him with your hull mounted sensors. And you're probably not at that point, because at that point you're going to be running, so you're going to be going flank speed, and you're just going to have so much flow noise over the sensors that you're not going to hear anything. So use the aircraft, use the sonobuoys at that point, but you got a small bubble to search within, so it's not going to be too daunting. And also, you firing a counterfire down the torpedo bearing of the enemy is probably going to have him react to that and fire off his noisemakers. So then it'll help your helicopter with sonobuoys be more successful and figuring out where he's at. All right, so if there's any questions or comments, once again, let me just a shout out to Ian. I think made this. He's the guy that is part of the Sea Power team now. He was the Pacific Strike creator. So this is great. I think that he did a great job. I'm really happy to see it. Maybe we'll play some other ones, but he was interested in getting my comments on ASW because of my background being a former Sonar supervisor. But I think he did a great job. I think there's a lot of explanations in there. I expanded on some of them, but really most of it was just for general information for you guys if you were curious and stuff what it's like, or maybe expanded on the thermocline stuff for quite a bit. The Sea Power is great with the layer depth. I can't say it enough. It's such a cool feature that it's not the same across the whole map. I love that. I'm glad that they did that. It shows that they really did research on that kind of stuff, because really no other game does stuff like that. So yeah, really cool. Great mission, great tutorial. If you're new to ASW, play this tutorial. Don't watch my videos. they take way too long. I ramble on about stuff. But go play the tutorial. You'll get sped up where you can definitely do a scenario by yourself, and you'll be fine. So yeah, if you have any questions or comments, leave them down below, and I'll get to them as soon as possible. See you on the next one. Bye.